They will call you selfish for guarding your time. They will call you arrogant for protecting your energy. But if you say yes to everything, you say no to yourself. From the moment we are born, the world begins to whisper one word in our ears: yes. Yes to fitting in, yes to pleasing others, yes to approval, to compromise, to expectations that were never yours to carry. But somewhere deep within, there is another word, smaller, quieter, and far more powerful. A word that doesn't please the crowd but frees the soul. No. No is not a rejection. It's a declaration. It's the line you draw when you realize that your life is not a public park. It is private property, sacred ground. And not every voice deserves an audience. Not every request deserves your labor. Not every opportunity deserves your time. You were not born to be everything to everyone. You were born to become something specific. And saying no is how you begin that journey. It's easy to say yes. Yes is warm, it's comfortable, it keeps the peace. But peace without purpose is just silent chaos. Saying yes when your heart is screaming no is how people lose decades to the wrong job, the wrong crowd, the wrong life. Look around. How many brilliant minds are buried under the weight of obligation? How many dreams were suffocated under polite compliance? How many lives were lost not to tragedy, but to distraction? The answer isn't in another opportunity. It's in the courage to refuse the wrong ones. Edison said no to a world that mocked his 10,000 failed attempts. Carnegie said no to staying poor when the world told him that was his place. Disney said no to a boss who told him he lacked creativity. History was not made by those who said yes to every voice around them. It was made by those who had the strength to say no, and mean it. You cannot become exceptional by being agreeable. The road to greatness is not paved with yeses. It's carved with thousands of intentional, disciplined no's. No to distractions. No to shortcuts. No to anything that takes you further from who you were born to be. But let's not pretend. Saying no is not easy. It's an act of rebellion. Because the world loves when you conform. It praises your yes. It punishes your no. It calls you difficult, rude, dismissive. But here's the truth. Your no will offend those who benefited from your silence. Your no will disappoint those who manipulated your guilt. Your no will hurt at first, but then it will heal everything. Clarity begins when confusion ends. And confusion ends the moment you start filtering your life with the word *no. What isn't aligned? What isn't feeding you? What drains you, distracts you, belittles you, confines you? If it doesn't serve your vision, if it doesn't match your values, then no is the most loving answer you can give. And it is love, real love, when you choose authenticity over approval, when you choose legacy over likability. The power of no is not in rejection, it's in redirection. It's in reclaiming your soul from the 100 little compromises that slowly murdered your potential. Because you know this. Somewhere deep down, you know this. You feel it when you're alone, that ache, that quiet sense that you're living someone else's life, saying yes to the job they told you was safe, saying yes to friends who never truly see you, saying yes to habits that numb instead of nourish. But your spirit cannot be bribed forever. Sooner or later, your silence becomes a scream. The scream comes when you wake up and realize you've become a stranger to yourself. When your life feels full, but you are empty. That's not burnout. That's betrayal. A betrayal of your own becoming. And every time you said yes when you should have said no, a small piece of you vanished. But the good news? You can call it back. You can reclaim what you've lost with one sacred word, with one divine boundary. No, say no. Not with bitterness, but with boldness. Not with guilt, but with grace. Say no to prove that your time matters, that your voice matters, that you were not put here to be convenient. You were put here to be legendary. And legends do not rise by accident. They rise by decision, repeated, relentless, ruthless when needed. compassionate but unshakable. You do not need to be angry to say no. You only need to be clear. Clear about who you are, clear about what you value, clear about the life you're building. And clarity does not tolerate clutter. Start listening to the discomfort. It's trying to guide you. That hesitation in your chest, that tension in your shoulders, that voice in your gut that says, "This isn't right." That is your wisdom begging to be heard. And wisdom rarely says yes. Wisdom pauses, wisdom questions, wisdom defends, and wisdom often whispers a word most are too afraid to speak: no. When you begin to say no from a place of vision, the world will realign. Yes, some people will leave. Some doors will close. Some applause will fade. Let it. Let it all fall away. Because what remains after the no is real. What remains is honest. What remains is yours. What remains is the foundation of your truth, not built by the approval of others, but by the convictions you refuse to betray. Saying no is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming conscious. It's the art of choosing the few things that matter over the many things that don't. And most people, they never learn this. They chase everything and end up with nothing. But you are learning to choose. You choose your time because you've realized it is your most valuable currency. You choose your energy because you understand that not every battle deserves your blood. You choose your company because you've seen how proximity shapes destiny. And above all, you choose your values, and you let them become the walls that protect your peace. Most people will never build those walls. They live in open houses with broken doors, letting in every demand, every crisis, every distraction. They are owned by the urgency of others. They mistake noise for necessity, and so they run, and run, and run, until the noise becomes normal and stillness feels like guilt. But you are not most people. Stillness is your power, focus is your weapon, and no is the lock on the door of your destiny. You must learn this early. If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. And they won't do it with your peace in mind. The world does not reward the available, it rewards the intentional, the focused. The few who understand that attention is sacred and time is not renewable. You will never hear of a great inventor who attended every party. Never read of a visionary who said yes to every meeting. Never admire a leader who was everything to everyone. Greatness is narrow. Greatness is specific. And that specificity comes from the courage to say no, again and again and again. The temptation will always be there, to overextend, to overcommit, to please, to prove. But what are you proving? That you can abandon yourself for acceptance? That you can keep bleeding so others can keep sipping? Let me tell you, martyrdom is not a virtue. Sacrificing your dreams for comfort, for approval, for tradition, that is not noble. That is silent surrender. And life does not honor surrender disguised as service. It honors those who stood tall, said no, and took the lonely road, because it was right. And it will be lonely at first. When you begin saying no, expect resistance, expect guilt, expect isolation. You'll wonder if you're being too rigid, too difficult, too harsh. But you must remember, discomfort is the tax you pay for growth, and temporary loneliness is the toll for a lifetime of alignment. Think of the oak tree. It doesn't bend for every breeze. It doesn't seek the sunlight of every direction. It stands rooted, tall, and still. It says no to the easy sway. And in that stillness, it grows strong. You must be like that, rooted in your values, tall in your standards, still in your purpose. The moment you stop explaining your no is the moment you start honoring your yes. Yes to peace, yes to power, yes to presence. Because saying no is not just about refusal. It is about revealing what truly matters. Every no you speak clears the fog. Every no you declare sharpens your focus. Every no you defend carves the space for your real work to emerge. the book you haven't written yet, the skill you haven't mastered, the business you haven't started, the health you haven't prioritized. All of it is waiting. Waiting for your no to make room for your yes. This world is crowded with voices, loud, demanding, distracting. But only a few ever learn to quiet the noise. Only a few ever say, "That's not my path. That's not my fight. That's not my race to run." And those few, those are the ones who shape the world. They are not the busiest, not the most liked, not the most praised, but they are the most aligned, the most free, the most fulfilled, because they didn't sell their life for the shallow comfort of yes. They earned it with every discipline, no. So ask yourself, what have you been saying yes to that no longer fits the person you are becoming? What have you tolerated in the name of peace that is costing you your power? What dreams have been buried beneath the rubble of polite obligations? Dig them up, dust them off, stand over them like a soldier guarding sacred ground and say, "No more." You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't owe the world your constant accessibility. You don't owe your past a seat in your future. You owe one thing, to become who you were meant to be. And that will require some doors to remain closed, some calls to go unanswered, some paths to be walked alone. But remember this, the more you say no to what is beneath you, the more you rise into what is meant for you. This is not about selfishness. This is about stewardship. You were given this life, not to scatter it like seeds on concrete, but to plant it where it will grow. And growth requires space. Space requires boundaries. And boundaries begin with one sacred word: no. There will come a day, maybe it already has, when your future knocks. Not gently, not quietly, but with urgency. And when it does, it won't ask how many people you pleased. It won't care how available you were, how busy you stayed, or how many meetings you accepted. It will ask only one thing. Did you make room for me? Did you make room for greatness, or did you fill your calendar with crumbs? Did you guard your mornings like gold, or did you give them away for free? Did you shape your days with intention, or did you drift on the waves of other people's expectations? The answer to those questions is not in what you added to your life. It's in what you had the strength to subtract, because saying no is the chisel of the sculptor, the brushstroke of the artist, the silence between the notes in a masterpiece. It's not emptiness, it's design. It's how you carve your calling from the noise of the world. Look back at the people who built empires, movements, legacies. They didn't just build, they refused. They refused distractions. They refused mediocrity. They refused to betray their vision just to feel accepted for a moment. Abraham Lincoln refused comfort when conscience called. He said no to silence in the face of division, no to surrender in the face of a fractured nation. His no held a country together. Martin Luther King Jr. said no to waiting, no to the polite delay of justice, no to fear, even when his own life was on the line. His no changed the moral direction of a generation. And then there's you. Maybe you're not standing at a podium or changing the laws of a nation. But every time you say no to what dilutes you, you're declaring a new law in your own life. I will not live beneath my potential. You may not see it yet, but your no is echoing forward. It's clearing paths you'll one day walk. It's closing doors that lead nowhere. It's freeing your hands so you can finally carry what matters. You say no to the toxic friend, and years later your soul breathes easier. You say no to the job that stifles your spirit, and suddenly your gifts have room to stretch. You say no to the party, the trip, the invitation, and you find yourself alone, creating something timeless. And that's the paradox of greatness. It's born in the quiet, in the solitude, in the hours no one claps for. You don't build a legacy in public. You build it in the shadows, one sacred no at a time. People will not understand. They will call you too intense, too focused, too serious. Let them. You are not responsible for their confusion. You are responsible for your calling, and every time you honor it, you train the world how to treat you. Your boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates to let the right people in. The ones who see your time as sacred, the ones who respect your rhythm, your rest, your roar, the ones who don't ask you to shrink so they can feel big, because you cannot say yes to your true tribe until you first say no to the crowd. And it's not just people, it's habits, patterns, addictions to the ordinary. You must say no to scrolling through other people's lives if you ever want to start living your own. Say no to cheap dopamine if you want rich joy. Say no to the rush of now if you ever want the reward of later. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. Every no you speak to distraction is a yes whispered to your destiny. And it adds up, slowly, silently, day by day. You begin to notice it. More mental space, more clarity, more control, and most of all, more you. The you that was buried under people-pleasing. The you that got lost trying to be liked. The you that was always there, waiting for you to stop saying yes to everyone else. So don't apologize for changing. Don't explain your no, don't water down your boundaries for those who benefited from your lack of them. You don't owe softness to people who handed you hardness. You don't owe access to people who only took advantage of it. You owe yourself your life. And life demands decisions. Decisions demand courage. And courage begins with no. It is not a one-time act. It is a daily devotion, a lifestyle, a lens you see through. Will this make me better or busier? Will this feed my soul or just stroke my ego? Will this build my legacy or delay it? And if the answer is no, then the answer is no. It's not selfish, it's sacred. Because when you say no to the lesser, you make room for the legendary. And yes, the world will test you. The moment you begin saying no, distractions will come dressed as opportunities. Old habits will knock with a new voice. And people you thought were friends will show their discomfort, not because you've hurt them, but because your boundaries now reveal their lack of them. But hold your ground, because nothing threatens the insecure more than a person who no longer needs their validation. When you stop bending, they'll call you rigid. When you stop chasing, they'll say you've changed. But change is not betrayal. Change is growth, with the courage to stop apologizing for it. And anyone who punishes your growth was never nourishing it to begin with. You are not here to be consumed. You're not here to be convenient. You're here to create, to rise, to transform, to step into every inch of your divine potential. And anything that dims that, anyone who devalues that, deserves your distance, not your devotion. You weren't born to be a mirror, constantly reflecting what others want to see. You were born to be a flame, to burn with purpose, even if it makes some uncomfortable. Your no is the fuel that protects that fire. Protect it, because greatness does not come to the constantly available. It comes to the fiercely intentional. To the few who can say, not today, I'm building. Not this time, I'm healing. Not anymore, I've learned. Those 3 sentences, spoken with clarity, conviction, and courage, can change the entire trajectory of a life. Think of the path you're on. Every fork in the road demands a decision, and every decision is a door. You can open the one lined with people's approval and walk into a room where your dreams go to die. Or you can take the other door, the quiet one, the one few dare to open, the one guarded by solitude, sacrifice, and silence. But inside that room is your power, your truth, your you. And that room only opens with the key called no. So go back to your vision, dust it off if you must, and start asking hard questions. What am I allowing that I should be denying? What do I continue to accept just because I'm afraid to lose it? What peace am I sacrificing to avoid conflict? Make no mistake, peace that depends on your silence is not peace. It's a prison. And the bars are built from every yes you never meant to say. You want freedom? Say no. You want power? Say no. You want peace, clarity, purpose, time, energy, joy, creativity, fire, discipline, legacy? It starts with no. No is the lever that shifts your life from reaction to creation, from survival to mastery, from being needed to being called. This is not about rejection. It's about alignment. The right life cannot reach you while you're tangled in the wrong one. The right people cannot enter until the crowd has cleared. The right future cannot be built on a foundation of blurred boundaries and broken promises to yourself. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice, by the painful, beautiful, disciplined choice to subtract before you add, to clear before you build, to say no more fake yeses, no more silent resentment, no more energy leaks, no more diluted dreams. Let the world call you whatever it wants, unavailable, unapologetic, unbothered. Let them, because the ones who truly matter, the ones who are building something real, they won't be offended by your no. They'll be inspired by it, because your no says, I know where I'm going. It says, I respect my time enough to protect it. It says, I'm no longer choosing others over myself. And maybe, just maybe, your no will become someone else's permission. Permission to stand taller, to stop pleasing, to breathe again. Because when one person sets a boundary, they light a torch for others still lost in the fog of yes. You could be that torch. You don't need to be louder, just clearer. You don't need to be tougher, just truer. You don't need to have all the answers, just the bravery to say, this isn't right for me. Say it, not with arrogance, but with assurance, not with anger, but with truth. Because once you do, once your no becomes normal, the right yeses begin to arrive. And when those right yeses arrive, you'll feel it. Not the rush of people pleasing, not the panic of scarcity, not the anxiety of overcommitment, but the deep, anchored knowing, this is mine. That's the reward of your no. The yes that feels like peace. The yes that feels like truth. The yes that feels like home. Because now, you're choosing from power, not pressure. From clarity, not confusion. From alignment, not approval. And when you begin to live like that, truly live like that, everything changes. Your relationships deepen because you're no longer performing. You're present. Your work sharpens because you're no longer scattered. You're focused. Your energy rises because you're no longer drained. You're lit with purpose. Your mind clears because you're no longer buried in obligations. You're free. And that freedom, that quiet, unshakable freedom, is what you were always searching for, not in more, but in less. Not in addition, but in subtraction. Not in saying yes, but in learning to say no, no to fear. No to guilt. No to living on autopilot. No to shrinking so others can stand taller. No to living small just because it feels safe. No to trading your fire for comfort. No to anyone, including yourself, who tries to convince you that survival is enough. Because you didn't come here to survive. You came here to build, to burn bright, to become. And becoming doesn't happen in a crowd. It happens in the quiet, in the decisions no one claps for, in the nights you say no to the noise, and yes to your craft, yes to your peace, yes to your evolution. This is your moment, your line in the sand, your declaration to yourself, I will not betray my potential for politeness. I will not trade my power for popularity. I will not give away my soul in pieces just to make everyone else whole. You are not here to impress the world. You are here to impact it. And impact begins with integrity. Integrity to your time. Integrity to your truth. Integrity to the person you're becoming when no one is watching. So stand tall, stand clear, stand firm. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. Not because it's comfortable, but because it's yours. And when the world presses in, when it asks for more than you can give, when it demands access to every inch of your time, your thoughts, your energy, pause, breathe, and say it with love. Say it with courage. Say it with clarity that shakes the ground. No, not out of anger, but out of honor. Not out of spite, but out of sovereignty. Not because you're better than anyone, but because you're becoming someone. Someone who is no longer lost in everyone else's storm. Someone who is no longer living on borrowed dreams. Someone who no longer fears silence, solitude, or self-respect. Someone who knows that a single no can echo louder than 1,000 yeses. This is the power you've had all along. The power to pause, to protect, to proclaim, to preserve your fire in a world that feeds on burnout. So go. Say it when it's hard. Say it when it shakes you. Say it even if your voice trembles. Say it and mean it. Because this isn't just a word. It's your boundary. It's your freedom. It's your future. It's the power of saying no.